What are we gonna do when we get back?
What are we gonna do when we get back?
I take a shower and hit the rack.
Take a shower and hit the rack.
Welcome to Charlie Mike. If you're a combat veteran with an entrepreneurial bug and want to know what highly successful combat veteranpreneurs are doing to transform their sacrifice and experience to create their visual reality, then this is dedicated to your inspiring and fulfilling future. And now your host, Dwayne Perro.
No way, gotta run, beat, lots of fun.
Invest in Yourself ebook is my free gift to you for listening to the show and becoming part of the CO Nation. To receive your free gift, please go to landmarklifecoaching.com. Thank you for joining us on this episode. There are so many veterans with the core strengths to become successful entrepreneurs and continue to make a huge positive impact on our country. Here we highlight the amazing successes of combat veteranpreneurs. Combat veterans for the purpose of this show are soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen who have served the United States in wars, campaigns, and in theater on foreign soil or hostile waters. Our guest today is Carter Davis. Carter is the founder of Lift for the 22 and was a U.S. Navy corpsman from 2007 to 2013. He was medically retired and found that using the gym is a great traditional tool for veterans when getting out of the service. Lift for the 22 partners with gyms across the country who donate gym memberships to the program to be redistributed back to local veterans. Lift for the 22 is now in 187 gyms nationwide and can provide over 3,000 gym memberships to veterans a year. All right, Carter, well, welcome to the show and thank you for being a guest.
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show, Dwayne.
Absolutely. I'm excited to have you tell our listeners all about your journey from a veteran to becoming a successful entrepreneur. But before we get into the actual entrepreneurial experience, can you give us a quick overview of your military experience?
Absolutely. So I joined the military in 2007. I wanted to go medical, so I decided to become a U.S. Navy corpsman. I did well enough in school that I got to choose to go to 1st Marine Division, where I spent the first 5 years of my service with 1st Battalion, 1st Marines. I deployed twice on the 13th Marine Expeditionary Unit with 1-1, where we did some counter-piracy operations. We did a lot of intergovernmental training operations, specifically with the Jordanians, the Omanis, the Qataris, and we did a lot of stuff preparing them for their first infantry deployments to Afghanistan and Iraq. After getting done with 1st Marine Division, I was sent over to Hawaii to spend 2 years blueside, where I hung out in a clinic. I decided that when I went back to Greenside, I would like to go to recon school and become a SARC corpsman. So I picked up a soccer team on the weekends that was with my unit to keep up my cardio before I headed off to BRC. And after I received my orders, I had a soccer game one weekend, and I ended up shattering my leg in that soccer game, which resulted in me being medically retired from the service.
Oh, wow. That must have been an interesting experience in itself. Sounds like you were on a very upward path, being able to do all these various things in the Navy. But good to see that it didn't stop you from moving forward with the amazing mission that you've started with Lift for the 22. So, as you were medically retired, did you know right away that you wanted to go into becoming an entrepreneur and starting a nonprofit, or were you kind of checking out your options and looking at some of the standard jobs and things like that at first?
Yeah, so when I first got out of the service, I was still in a wheelchair, and I ended up suffering from a nerve disease from the leg injury due to 2 nerves being severely damaged in that injury, where my brain is incapable of shutting off pain signals in my right leg. So I ended up getting a spinal cord stimulator implanted, and during my transition from military life to civilian life, I really did go through the run-of-the-mill bad transition that some veterans, are going through. I got out. The VA immediately started pumping me full of painkillers and antidepressants and anxiety medications and all kinds of stuff. And I ended up getting hooked on those medications. That ended up resulting in a divorce and then I almost ended up committing suicide myself. So I did not have any desire or self-esteem when I first got out of the military to create business and to do something bigger than myself to help other people. I really had no direction. After going through that transition, I started using the gym to help myself transition from military life to civilian life. And using the gym allowed me to have an outlet when I needed it. It allowed me to set some goals in my life that I wanted to achieve, and I would achieve those goals in the gym. And that in turn turned into me achieving goals in my life. And what I realized was that getting veterans into the gym and forming peer-to-peer support networks and fitness facilities across the nation for veterans was the way that we were going to be able to create a positive impact on a veteran's life during that transition from military life to civilian life.
Yeah, that's some amazing points you bring up. You know, a lot of veterans do, you know, have issues with the way the VA is treating various, you know, situations from a pharmaceutical perspective. So I applaud you for looking for a non-pharm type solution, because there are so many different kinds of experiential therapy out there that can certainly replace, you know, in most cases, these meds that, you know, are not solving the problem for the military member / veteran. So that's some great insight that you were able to get just from your experience and be able to help so many people with that. I've dealt with some of the local nonprofits in the state of Maryland where I live, and they have some really neat experiential therapy programs. One is like, you know, fly fishing, right? Things that you would just normally do on any given day, no matter what your situation is, if you're into that, for, you know, relaxing and, you know, just kind of putting the stresses aside. And then there's some that have equestrian, right? They have amazing horses that they use for therapy, and those are doing incredible things for the veterans that have an interest in that, because, you know, they can kind of get lost in the experience, whether it's fly fishing, you know, going to the gym, being on a horse, you know, doing some type of, you know, obstacle course kind of things exist as well that I've seen. And so I really find those to be really, really neat, especially from, you know, I do life coaching with veterans in transition. And so, you know, it's kind of along those same lines. It's things that aren't medical related. And so it takes a lot of that stigma away, right? And allows the veteran to heal that much quicker.
Absolutely. And you know what I think a lot of veterans are afraid of doing is they're really afraid of thinking outside the box and branching out. We're so programmed to take orders, right? So when we go to the VA, the doctor says, well, this is the medication and this is when you should take it and this is how you should take it and blah, blah, blah. We do it. And a lot of us don't end up thinking about, you know, what is this doing to my body? What could I be doing instead that can help me alleviate some of the symptoms that I'm having? And, you know, essentially what Lift for the 22 is trying to do is we're just trying to bridge the gap by providing a service that we already had in the military, which was fitness, having access to a local based gym, having access to a community of support within that health and wellness aspect. And we transition that into civilian life. So the minute that you get out of the service, we hand you a 1-year gym membership, and you're able to deal with some of the issues that you're having personally by handling it yourself in the gym and building up that self-confidence, that self-esteem that's going to make you successful out here in the civilian world.
Yeah. Have you found in your experience with, you know, reaching out to these gyms that they are receptive to donating these memberships, or is there a lot of kind of education that has to go on as to why they would want to?
So there is education that has to go on. What we developed as a business model for Lift for the 22 really requires us to educate that business owner, because we don't just require the free gym memberships. We also require for a gym to partner with us to hang a banner in their facility and to conduct one fundraiser a year for the nonprofit. Yeah. So there's a lot of education that goes into it. The gyms see the benefit by the end of the conversation, though. We're averaging about a 90% success rate with your typical walk-in 24-hour access fitness facilities that are privately owned. But the CrossFit gyms and the class-based facilities, we're only averaging about a 20% success rate in partnering with them. That's
interesting, the difference between there, you know, to kind of understand what's what's missing, right, with the other style gyms that the others kind of seem to get naturally, and it just may be the style of fitness or the background of the people that are running it, right?
Well, what it really is the business model. Class-based facilities actually lose money on our program every year, so technically those gym owners are donating direct revenue to help us. Whereas your typical walk-in workout facility like an Anytime Fitness or a Snap Fitness, yeah, they have some general overhead costs per membership where maybe the service member is using some paper towels and flushing the toilet and using water services and, keeping the lights on and things like that. But at the end of the day, they're really only giving up space and time. And that allows us to get these fitness facilities around the country to get behind our mission by donating these memberships every year, because it doesn't end up hurting their business to do so. And it only helps them, from a PR marketing opportunity against their competition locally.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's really good because they show that they're giving back to their community, and, that makes others want to join those kinds of facilities. So you guys when did you guys start out?
So we are only 18 months old. We are in 203 gyms actually across the country now as of this past week. We're averaging about 2 to 3 new gyms a week, getting them added into our program. And we can give away now over 3,000. We're actually at 3,300 memberships per year we can give away without spending a single dollar. Now, that doesn't mean our nonprofit doesn't need money. Boy, do we need money. We need the ability to rebuild our web development software, our CRM, that we're using to house all these applications for veterans and house all of our gym relationships in the country. We've got a market in all of these facilities that we have available memberships across the country using our Facebook platform and other platforms. So, the nonprofit itself, we may not need a lot of money every year to give away the memberships in our partnered facilities, but 8 out of 10 veterans that are applying to our program are outside of our network, which means we have to pay full price at their gyms. But the great part is, if you donated $400, let's say, as a one-time, once-a-year donation to our nonprofit, we would take that $400 and we would cold call a gym that's near one of our veterans that's applied, and we would tell them we would like to purchase a membership over the phone. And by the way, we also partner with gyms, and it gives us an opportunity, to leverage a sales pitch with these fitness facilities instead of having them, hang up on us because we sound like a sales pitch right off the bat.
Yeah, no, that's great because it's a win-win there. You're coming with something for them, and in return, and so it entices them to want to partner and do exactly that. So,
exactly.
Yeah. So as you got into this, I mean, how do you get support for going out and reaching out to the gyms? I mean, there must be you must have a team of people that support this, or.
Yeah, so I have a team of 2 people right now that call fitness facilities around the country in order to pitch them the program, add them into our system, and provide them with the necessary documentation to partner with us. It really is a 1 to 2 hour process to partner with a gym in terms of actual workload. Now that 1 to 2 hours may be spread out over the course of an entire week because you get the 1 30-minute phone call with the gym owner here. Now they got to think about it, then a 15-minute follow-up phone call just to make sure they understand everything, and then finally you're adding them to the system. So, it is a process that needs to be very organized, and it's a process that does take time.
Yeah, sounds like it for sure. Like any kind of sale, there's all different parts, phases of getting them through the funnel. And I'll tell you, your numbers are very impressive, given that you have 2 people beyond yourself working on getting all these memberships in place. And when you talk from an entrepreneurial perspective, a sales funnel, if you're getting 90% of certain kind of memberships to come out, as a positive result, that's amazing, because a lot of times, as an entrepreneur, you'd hope to get, maybe 60-70% of what you push through your funnel to come out as in some cases business, but in this case as memberships. So that's very impressive. You guys are building quite a model for others to be able to follow in, not maybe in the gym arena, but in other types of nonprofits that could do something similar for other interests that the veterans may have. So
that's right. That's totally right. And I think that's something that's becoming very evident in the nonprofit field right now, is that a lot of nonprofit executives are realizing that the majority of the country is really hanging on to their money right now, and not as many people are donating to causes anymore, which has made operations for nonprofits and our ability to output our services very difficult. And that's why from the very beginning, when we looked at the numbers and we realized that 240,000 veterans are separating from the service every single year, we wanted to be able to give every single one of them a gym membership. And when you do the math and you figure out that the average gym membership for a year is $400 around the country, you're looking at almost $25 to $50 million a year you need in funding to be able to help all these veterans. Mm-hmm. So instead, we're just going city by city, asking one gym in that city for some free memberships every year in exchange for a partnership. Yeah. So, our goal long term is to be able to actually dictate where veterans go to the gym, because these facilities that are supporting our program every year are going way above and beyond the veteran discount. And they're actually providing 5 to 22 memberships a year in their facility to actively fight veteran suicide by donating physical memberships. So these gyms are really sticking their neck out for the veteran community, and we want our veterans to go to these gyms.
Yeah, that's a great point. That you have a very important cause that this is supporting, and that is to reduce the number of veteran suicides that are happening on a routine basis. And so, how do you determine the veterans that I don't want to say qualify, but that are chosen to get these memberships, right? Because veterans come in all forms, right? Depending on their background. How does somebody get chosen?
So one thing that we looked at in the research of veteran suicide was looking at the actual statistics of who is killing themselves, right? Mm-hmm. And you've got the majority, over 50% of the veterans committing suicide are the older generation. Now, I know we're seeing a spike in the younger generation right now, but if you look at the veterans who are committing suicide in mass quantities, they're non-combat veterans. Mm. And so what we are realizing is that we don't have a PTSD, TBI, sympathetic nervous response type of acute depression. What we have is a broken transitional system where veterans are separating from the service with a lack of support at home. So for example, for myself, I was a foster kid. Okay, you want to look at veteran transition failures in a nutshell, I'm it. Foster kid, addicted to pain meds upon separation with an injury that kept me from working, disability rating, living in an expensive city, lack of friendship support network because I didn't know a whole lot of people. Mm. So you want to look at this from the global perspective. This is not guys who are having nightmares every night about PTSD and they're waking up and killing themselves. That's only 30%. 30% of suicides are veterans who are actively diagnosed and being treated for PTSD or a TBI injury. Or you get separated from service due to non-routine conditions. So there's actually a brand new research study that just came out in the Journal of Preventative Medicine that's titled Non-Routine Discharge from Military Service, Mental Illness, Suicidality, and Substance Abuse. And veterans who are discharged under non-routine conditions, which means medical retirement, disqualification, change of lifestyle, which means like one of the parents died at home and they need to go home and take care of like a younger sibling, or misconduct, are 6 times higher to exhibit mental illness, substance abuse, and suicidality.
Those are some interesting statistics for sure, because I'm sure the general population, the perception is the opposite. And so
it is. And that's what Lift for the 22 is trying to break down, is that all of the people reaching out to our program via our Facebook page or via email are always saying, so I'm a service-connected 90% PTSD, TBI, lost my leg. I understand that. Our program, just so you know, is available to all veterans of all eras.
Nice.
Okay, so when I got out of the service and I had a 70% rating for my leg injury and the nerve condition and everything like that I'm going to have to get treated for long-term, that did not necessarily qualify me for the other programs that were help providing gym memberships to veterans, and that put me in a bad spot. Mm-hmm. So, I did not ever want a veteran to feel like they couldn't get a gym membership. So that's why, I'm partnering with as many gyms in the country, city by city, to provide these memberships, so that we don't have a 400 veteran waiting list. Yeah. We don't want to have that, but we have one. Mm-hmm. We have one right now because we don't have enough gyms in the country and we don't have enough money to pay for those memberships outside of our network. Mm-hmm. So we just have to focus on continuing to grow the gyms in order to be able to continue providing the gym memberships.
Yeah, that's a great point. All right, we're going to go ahead, listeners, and take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with Carter Davis here from Lift for the 22 and talk more about some of the lessons he learned as an entrepreneur and starting this for those interested in doing something similar. So we'll be right back. Landmark Life Coaching's vision is to be the nation's premier coaching partner for inspiring and empowering those in transition. They partner with courageous groundbreakers and transitioning veterans to create fulfilling and empowering futures that they desire. They have partnered with various entrepreneurs and transitioning veterans to leverage their core strengths and implement the framework for the future they always dreamed of. Could you or anyone you know benefit from a success partner to bring clarity to your future or their future? If so, please check out landmarklifecoaching.com for more information and charliemikepodcast.com for the Charlie Mike Podcast, showcasing the successes of combat veteranpreneurs. Okay, we are back with Carter Davis. He's the founder of Lift for the 22. He has an amazing mission that he is on for providing gym memberships to veterans in need. And they've done an amazing job already, but there's a lot of work left to do, as you heard him talk about earlier. And, you know, one of the things I like to get into in the show is the lessons learned as an entrepreneur. What are some of the things, Carter, that, you know, as you got into this, you know, especially given that you didn't necessarily set out to become an entrepreneur, you were looking to solve a problem, and part of that led to, okay, now I'm ahead of a nonprofit that has a very important mission. What are some things you learned in getting into the realm that you think others who are like, hey, I've got an idea, I think I might want to do something, you know, similar?
So what I'll do is I'll break this down by positive things I learned and negative things I learned. We'll start with the bad. So negative things I learned was not to trust everyone you meet that wants to help you. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing out there that are interested in only personal gain by leveraging what you are building to make that happen. Always be cautious with people and your ideas. Understand the nature of people. Understand that all the internal aspects of business, of understanding that you need to get non-disclosure agreements when you're talking to other people about your business and things like that. All of those little things are things that I learned the hard way. Positive things that I learned, becoming an entrepreneur the way that I did forced me to grow very, very, very quickly as a leader. I had leadership qualities, I had leadership tendencies, but my energy was put into the wrong areas. So really understanding who you are is the most important lesson I learned in becoming an entrepreneur, because what it teaches you is how you're going to react, how you're going to respond, where your passions are, where your strengths and your weaknesses are. And being open to attacking those weaknesses to make them strengths is one of the most important lessons you can learn. Do not be afraid of failing, because you're going to fail 5 or 6 times before you get something big right with your business. So allow that failing process to happen, wipe up your tears, figure out how to push through, adapt and overcome, but really let yourself go through the process of business. And understand the process of business. Allow yourself to make mistakes, because when you make those mistakes, you won't make them again.
Yeah, no, those are some great points, especially, being having the understanding that, you're going to fail more than you are going to succeed. Because a lot of what people will see, like in your case right now, right, they'll see, wow, he's really hitting the ground with this and having, a decent amount of success right up front. They don't see, oh, well, he tried this, he tried that, and that actually didn't work before he figured out the formula for reaching out to these gyms and getting them to commit and getting this 90% acceptance. So that's a great point, because any business, you're going to try so many things that just seem right. Your gut tells you, let's do this, this is right, let's move forward. But then you kind of need to counsel the multitudes around you to kind of bounce those ideas off from and say, is this, am I just drinking my own Kool-Aid, or is this really you think this will really work?
Exactly. And don't be afraid to walk away. You know, if your idea is not working, keep grinding at it. But if you're finally at the point where you're at the wall and you're realizing I have to go right or I have to go left, and both ways end in my business failing, you know, be willing to walk away and re-engage with it after you've put some time and some thinking into it. You know, protect your ideas. Get people excited. If you can't get people excited about what you're doing, then you can't do your business. Yeah. I think that's one of the most important things that comes across as a founder of an organization, is that the majority of people who invest in you, and as much as I'm in nonprofit work, I do understand that the concepts of business here, and you know, they invest in the founder. The first investment comes in because someone believes in you. And you've got to show the world that you can accomplish the things that you're saying that you're going to do. So I guess being realistic and setting tangible goals is the best way to grow your business.
Yeah, that is a great point. You know, those goals that you have set out as part of your business plan, be willing to adjust those as you go along as well, because, you know, all the first, you know, laid plans all sound good, and it's kind of best case scenario, this is what we're going to do, and then be willing to adjust those as you go along, because it's funny, you know, just in my life coaching practice, the way that I approach life coaching and the things that I do is not at all what I would have pictured, you know, when I started my practice.
Exactly.
It's just totally different, and it's not totally different in a bad way. It's just totally different.
It is. And when you look at the evolution of Lift for the 22, we started as a social media hashtag movement. All it was about was starting as a hashtag Lift for the 22. Veterans hashtag that when they go to the gym, and they encourage other veterans. You know, we're trying to encourage other veterans to find one another in gyms around the country. Then it turned into one gym in 2015 donating 22 memberships a year to our cause. Fast forward 12 months, we were in 85 gyms with 1,800 memberships, and now another 12 months later almost, and we are at 203 gyms and 3,300 memberships. So, you know, the evolution of your idea, it does change. You know, it's not what you expect it's going to be right off the bat. It's going to evolve. And be ready for that evolution. Be accepting of it, because if you're too afraid to evolve, you won't grow. You won't go anywhere. You know, you'll be doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Absolutely, that's a good point. You know, you have to be willing to accept that, because, you know, when people start businesses, it's almost like, you know, the birth of a child. It's like, it's got to be perfect, right? It's mine. It's got to be the right way. And then, you know, as people tell you, well, it's not as, you know, not as cute as you think. You know, you got to make some adjustments, and you got to be willing to take that constructive criticism and make a positive out of it. So that's pretty good. So what's kind of next steps for you guys? You know, as you're continuing to grow at such a rapid rate, what are some things people should know that are kind of on the horizon that you guys are thinking about?
Well, within the next 12 months, we would like to be in 400 gyms across the country. If anyone listening to this podcast knows any gym owners, I would like to speak with them. So please email us at info@liftforthe22.org. So that we can continue growing in more fitness facilities across the country. We want to rebuild our CRM. We want to develop better, more easily accessible relationships for our gym owners within our program to access their veterans and their information. We're going to be partnering with Grunt Fit app, which is going to be coming out here soon through Grunt Style. As well as a couple other different partnerships that are on the horizon to really help us initiate some growth here with the organization. But that's probably some of the most exciting stuff that we have coming up. Just as we can, I mean, it's very simple. All I got to do is make more phone calls to get more gyms on board. You know, that really is what it is. And when we bring a gym on board, and that city is covered, and we move on to the next one. You know, so I think just watching our growth from a distance, watching our Facebook page growing with us, being a part of our story, that's one of the best things that people can do as a follower of what we're doing in our organization, is getting involved with our social media channels and watching our story unfold there.
Outstanding. That sounds awesome. Sounds like you guys have a real clear vision of where you're going, and we'll certainly get there if history is any indication of what's going on. I mean, when you go through your numbers, it's growth after growth, which is phenomenal for even, for a nonprofit or a for-profit. That's what you want. You wanna be on that leading cuff. So
absolutely, and we're more than doubling our gyms every single year. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. So as we're coming to a close here, is there any parting words or any additional contact information you would like our listeners to know about?
Sure. So if you're a veteran out there and you would like to be involved with Lift for the 22, you can apply for a membership at liftforthe22.org. All of our partnered facilities are located directly on our application. If we do not have a partnered facility near you, please email us at info@liftforthe22.org, and please send me a list of 3 local gyms that you would be interested in going to. At that point, we'll add those gyms to our list of gyms to be calling around the country, and we will help you by providing gym memberships in your local city through one of those gyms.
Great. Well, thank you again for being on the show, and most importantly, thank you for your service to our country.
Well, thank you, Dwayne. I really appreciate you having us on the show. Without guys like you, man, we can't get the word out about this program.
Remember, loyal listeners, we are the home of the free because of the brave.
Thank you for tuning in to Charlie Mike Podcast with Dwayne Perro. Our objective is to bring successful veteranpreneurs to help inspire and provide insight into what helped them become successful, with the hopes you can take away various strategies you can implement in your entrepreneurial journey. Visit us on iTunes, leave us a rating and review, and let us know what you thought of the show. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Hoorah!